Hey guys, Joe Bolby here, and welcome back to Let's Build a Steampunk City, Episode 8. Last episode, we built some apartment buildings for our city. This week, we're turning to this open gray area, and we'll be constructing what will become the docks of our steampunk city. Now, this naval dockyard is going to be a lot more humble compared to the docks we had over in the Desert City build. Now, there's two reasons for this. The first one being from a logistical standpoint. Because we have an air dock, half of our ships are going to be in the sky and we'll be traveling to that air dock instead of a normal naval dockyard. And for the second reason, because we have an air dockyard, I want more emphasis on that as opposed to a traditional naval dockyard because this is a steampunk city after all. As for what's going to be in this naval dock, we're going to have 4 piers jutting out, and those 2 yellow circles are going to be rotating cranes which will be able to pick up trade goods from the vessels and transport them to the warehouses. And we'll also be adding a steampunk lighthouse. That's not going to be too tall because I don't want it to overshine the city because this is going to be the front entrance, and if it's too big it's sort of going to block the view from any ships coming in, just purely for an aesthetic reason. And this flat face of the dock, it's very long and very flat besides these piers coming out, so I decided to have the platforms, the cylindrical platforms that the cranes will be sitting on, I had decided to have it jut out a bit to help break up that flat face. In regards to the overall project now, there's only a few episodes left. Next week's will be the wall and warehouses that will be going right next to the harbor or docks. And then after that, we're going to be building up our residential district and maybe adding an inn, so visitors to the city will have some place to stay. And then we got to build the Baron's Palace as well as the Central Spire, and that will wrap up the Steampunk City build. Switching back to the build, the crane is the same design we used in the Desert City build, where it sits on that rotating wooden platform, has the logs for the main base of it, and then the arm is 2 blocks sideways, 1 up, 2 sideways, 1 up, and then filling in the gaps with the stairs. And now I just have to go ahead and replicate this crane by copying and pasting it over to the other side just to save time because it is identical. And now I'm beginning to map out some of the rest of this platform with wool. The blue is going to be the wall I talked about earlier in the video, and the orange is going to be the warehouses where all the merchants will store their goods before selling them. I'm not going to go too in depth about that because that's going to be for next week's episode. So the last thing we have left is to construct our lighthouse, which is going to be going between these 2 piers, and it's going to be a cylindrical tower as opposed to the square clock tower we had. Now this clock tower, as we go up, is going to get smaller and smaller as we go up the tiers, and it's not going to maintain its cylindrical shape the entire time. What I'm doing is I'm peeling the side we're facing right now back faster than the left and right side, so eventually we're going to get a oval shape with the long side of the oval facing out to the ocean and to any sailors traveling to our city. Early in its development here, it begins to look sort of like the tower from The Lord of the Rings with the eye in the center, which I must say was originally my inspiration. I wanted to have it sort of the light glowstone sort of pivot on these 2 prongs at the top of the tower. Now I'm just coming in, adding the pillar block and just detailing up these faces of the lighthouse. This window right here, it's a design we've used previously. It's just a rectangle cutout and then 4 stairs put in the 4 corners to get a more of a oval shaped window as opposed to a boring old square. And I'm adding a overhang on top of these windows just purely as a design effect because this isn't a patio, nobody's going to be coming out there, but it helps break up the transition between the different tiers. And now we're moving on to the top part. I wanted it to work in a wheel somehow to make it more steampunky. Originally I tried doing it with the wheel face facing us. didn't work out. So what I decided is I'm going to have 2 wheels on each side of this center glowstone bit, and that's going to help rotate it up and down, because while this is a lighthouse, it's not going to be just for our naval vessels. There's airships too, so you got to be able to point it up for the airships. So I elongated that glowstone out, covered the top and bottom, stuck 2 wheels on it that will help rotate, and made those side prongs thicker and more reinforced so they didn't look so brittle. And I'm adding some oak wood here just to help break up the pure whiteness of the lighthouse, because it was just too monotoned. And now we're moving on to the side of the lighthouse. As I stated earlier in the lighthouse part, one side is elongated, the other is not, so I can't just do a pure copy and paste of the front to the sides. So what I'm doing instead is I'm keeping with the same design theme of having those windows with the overhangs. So why it's not technically copy and pasted, all the same themes used on the front are used on the side. Now while this is a dock build, I'm not going to be building any ships because I hate building ships. They're such a pain in the ass to build. So what I did instead is just copy and pasted the ones that we had in our desert city over to here. And then I realized the way we have the piers set up, you can't have all 4 ships pull up at the same time. So what I'm doing for the 2 side piers is I'm having it turn a corner. And with that side corner adjustment made, I can now copy and paste the 1 ship over to this side bit, because I want at least 2 ships in harbor of our city. All that's left now is to build the walkways that will connect the piers and run all the way to our wall and through the gates. And while I was doing these walkways, I forgot to put in the counterweight for the cranes, so I quickly just add some iron blocks there and add the iron fence there, because you need a counterweight to operate cranes. And then just because of the pure repetitiveness of me installing these walkways and filling in the gaps, well, I'm just going to cut that because that's no fun to watch. And with that, we are done with our naval dockyard of our steampunk city. If you liked this video, drop a like. Come on, what are you waiting for? If you want to see more from our steampunk city, be sure to subscribe, and next week we will be tackling the walls and warehouses. I'll see you guys next week. Joe Bolby out.